Okay, I'm pretty sure that we've already talked about this weird little word here, extraneous solution. Remember, this is a solution we get from correct algebra, but it doesn't actually work when we plug it into the original equation. It literally is an extra solution, but it doesn't work in the original equation. All right, so let's do our new problem. Okay, so here's our problem. Remember that we want to do our restrictions. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my two denominators. I have an x in that denominator, and the x value that will make that denominator equal to 0 is a 5, because 5 minus 5 is 0. So I'm going to go ahead, 5 cannot equal, x cannot equal 5. Good to know that I don't do any differently sitting in my house than I do sitting in front of you in class. Okay, so that is for the first one. Now, for the second denominator, this is a trinomial. What do we need to do with our trinomials before we find restrictions? Very good, correct. We have to factor. So I am going to do my double parentheses. This is a nice easy one because there's not a number in front of the x squared. So I know x times x will give me x squared. Now I'm going to look at this sign. That is a negative, so I know I'm going to need a positive and a negative, or different signs there. Now I'm going to look at factors of 35. 1 and 35, 3 and 7. Nope, not 3 and 7. Oh my gosh, guys. How about 5 and 7? That's what I meant. 5 and 7. Okay, since my signs are different, I need to subtract to give myself 2. That's going to be 5 and 7. Now, since the 2 is a positive 2, my bigger number is going to go with the positive, my smaller number is going to go with the negative. If you need to pause right now to refresh yourself and get a hang of all that, go ahead. I'm going to erase all of the extra signs or all of the extra writing, so pause it if you need to and then hit play again when you're ready. Okay, since this is my trinomial factored, what are my restrictions here? This one gives me a restriction of x cannot equal negative 7, correct? Because negative 7 plus 7 would be 0. This one is the exact same thing as I had over there. So it's x cannot equal 5. I've already got that, so I don't need to write it again. Okay, are we refreshed on quadratic restrictions? Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and cross multiply. Now notice I erased the factored form of this one because I'm not going to use it when I cross multiply. So I'm going to bring down my equal sign, cross multiply here. I'm going to do that on this side, so I get x squared plus 2x minus 35. And then I'm going to cross multiply these two. I'm going to put parentheses around that and do 5 times x minus 5. Is everybody with me? We've done the exact same thing we've been doing. It just is an uglier problem. So now I am going to distribute. So I've got 5x minus 25 equals x squared plus 2x minus 35. Now, since we are actually solving equations, if you remember when we solved quadratics, if we had an x squared on one side, we moved everything over and set that quadratic equal to 0. And that's what we're going to do here because we've learned that's what we're supposed to do. So I'm going to erase that, and we are going to subtract a 5x. But notice I am subtracting it from its like term on this side. So I have negative 25 equals x squared. Positive 2x minus 5x is negative 3x. And bring down my negative 35. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing for this negative 25. I want to get rid of it. So I'm going to add 25, and I'm going to add 25 to its like constant on the other side. Now, I have my 0 over here now. So bringing down my x squared, my minus 3x. Now negative 35 plus 25 is a negative 10. We good there? Okay. Now I have a 0 equals a trinomial. So now to solve a trinomial, we want to factor it. So I'm going to break this into two parentheses. X times x is the only thing that can give me x squared. This sign tells me that I am going to have two different signs in here. Now I'm going to look at factors of 10. 1 and 10, 2 and 5. I need factors that will subtract, because I've got two different signs, to give me a negative 3. That's going to be the 2 and the 5. Since the 3 is negative, I'm going to put the 5 with the negative sign, the 2 with the positive sign. And I have solved my quadratic. Now, I have factored my quadratic. So what would the solutions be? X could either equal negative 2, because again, I'm taking the opposite of that, or x could equal positive 5, because I'm taking the opposite of that. So far, so good? Okay, so now we're going to do our check. Now, let's see, what was my original equation? Okay, I'm going to shift gears. I'm going to move this back up here. Here's my original equation there. Now, notice that I have solutions of x equals negative 2 and x equals 5. What do you notice, though, about my restrictions? We said x can't equal 5, correct? So, my 5 is an extraneous solution. Okay, so if it is a restriction, it cannot be a real solution because it's going to make the denominator equal to 0. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the check of the negative 2. Okay, I'm coming up here. I'm going to draw a line through this. So 1 over negative 2 minus 5 equals 5 over negative 2 squared plus 2 times negative 2, and I'm going to run out of room here, minus, I'm going to bring that 35 down to the bottom. It'll get smaller here in a second. So 1 over negative 2 minus 5 is negative 7 equals 5 over, this gives me a positive 4, this gives me minus 4, and I'm going to bring my negative 35 over, or my minus 35. Now what do we know about 4 minus 4? It cancels out, doesn't it? It gives me 0. So I have 1 over negative 7 equals 5 over negative 35. Well, doesn't 5 over negative 35 reduce to 1 over negative 7? So my negative 2 does make my original equation true. So negative 2 is a real solution. So I have one extraneous and one real. So that's what you're going to be doing on your assignment. And the assignment is on Tuesday. So you are going to find your restrictions, solve your problem, check, and state whether it is a real solution or an extraneous. Text me if you have questions. Feel free to refer to where on the video you got confused, or take a picture of which confused you and send it to me. If you're seeing corrections or errors that I didn't correct verbally, let me know. And guys, I'm here as you're watching this. Just text me with questions and we'll get through it. And I hope you guys are enjoying some time off.